Today we're going to be talking about variables and expressions. A variable is a letter or symbol used to represent a value that can change. Now, a constant is a value that does not change, so just think of it as a plain old number, such as 7, 1/4, -2, any of those, 4.3. A numerical expression may contain only constants and operations. So we're thinking about something like 5 plus 3, 4 minus 2 times 6, something like that. It only has numbers and the operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. An algebraic expression may contain variables, constants, and operations. So you may have something like 5 times 7 plus I'm just going to use x, but let's say y here. 5 times 7 plus y, okay, because you've got a variable involved. Excuse me. Now, whenever you see an addition sign, or I should say whenever you see the words plus, sum, or increased by, that means that you're going to add. This is going to help you when you do some word problems. When you see the expressions less than, difference, or minus, that means that you're going to subtract. Excuse me. If you see the words times, product, or equal groups of, that means that you're going to multiply. And if you see the expressions divide or the word quotient, that means you're going to divide. Okay? So let's give two ways to write each algebraic expression in words. For instance, you could say, going back to our words here, the sum of Q and R. You could also say Q increased by R. Now here we have Q minus 3. If you want to write those in words, that algebraic expression, you could say the difference of Q and 3. You could also say Q decreased by 3. For 7m, that means you're going to multiply. 7m means 7 times m. So you could say the product of 7 and m. Going back to look at what we have for words for times, we could also use the expression equal groups of. We could say 7 equal groups of m. For j divided by 6, you could actually just write it like that, j divided by 6. Or you could also use that word quotient. We could say the quotient of j and 6. So now, let's move on. Translating words into algebraic expressions. John types 62 words per minute. Write an expression for the number of words he types in m minutes. Well, we would say 62 times the number of minutes to get how many words he types. So we're going to say 62 times m, or in other words, 62m. Roberto is 4 years older than Emily, who is y years old. Write an expression for Roberto's age. Well, if Emily is Y years old and Roberto is 4 years older, we're going to have to add 4 years onto Y, onto Emily's age to get Roberto's age. So Roberto's age is Y plus 4. Joey earns $5 for each car he washes. Write an expression for the number of cars Joey must wash to earn D dollars. Now think about this. If he wanted to earn $100 and he got $5 for each car, we would divide 100 by 5 and he would end up washing 20 cars. So if D dollars is what he wants to earn, we're going to have to divide D by $5, which will give us the number of cars that he needs to wash. Now, to evaluate an expression means to find its value. So evaluate each expression for m equals 3, n equals 2, and p equals 9. So here we're going to say 3 times 2 for m times n. We're just going to plug those numbers in, and we get 6. For p minus n, well, p is 9, minus 2 gives us 7. Plugging those numbers in place of those variables. P divided by m. Well, p is 9 divided by m, which is 3, and that gives us 3 for an answer. Let's move on. Now it says approximately 85 20-ounce plastic bottles must be recycled to produce the fiber fill for a sleeping bag. Write an expression for the number of bottles needed to make S sleeping bags. Well, if you need 85 bottles to make one sleeping bag, by the way, the 20 in here doesn't mean anything as far as this problem goes. Okay? That's just telling you how big the bottles have to be. They have to hold 20 ounces. But all we need to know is that we need to have 85 of them to make one sleeping bag. Now, if we want to make S sleeping bags, we're going to have to take 85 times S. And if you can either leave it as 85S or you can say 85 and make a multiplication symbol times S. So find the number of bottles to make 20, 50, and 325 sleeping bags. So, in the first case, S is 20 for 20 sleeping bags. So we're going to say 85 times 20. And 85 times 20 gives us 1,700 bottles. Okay, now if S is 50, we're going to take 85 times 50. And that gives us 4,250 bottles that are necessary to make 50 sleeping bags. Now, if S is 325, you want to make 325 sleeping bags, we're going to have to say 85 times 325, and that is going to give us 27,625 bottles that are necessary to make 325 sleeping bags. That is the end of today's lesson. Thank you very much for joining me.